Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, a long-awaited episode and return to Trade Talk. This is our comic book collected edition conversation show here on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. Joins me today, we got my co-host here, Max, who you could also check out on our other movie-related podcasts that we do here on the YouTube channel, Late Night at the Movies, as well as Late Night Letterbox, also on a bunch of movie trailer reactions. So Max has been kind of doing some double duty over on the movie stuff that we do here, the movie content here on the YouTube channel. But this is, I guess, your first foray into a more of a comic book conversation, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So this will be a lot of fun. You can also check out our weekly comic book review show that me and Chris do every week, Comic Shop Talk, of course. And if you want to check out more comic book content, like I said, there's a whole playlist full of that. Everything in Comic Shop Talk, the playlist. You see, have all these episodes, trade talks. I think the last one I might have done, maybe even with Peter, we talked about a Ninja Turtle comic. And then I know Chris has also done a trade talk as well. This is basically the show where instead of new single issues like we do in Comic Shop Talk, we talk about collected editions, older stories, important stuff that gets collected that we want to check out and revisit and read. And being that the new Superman movie came out recently, which, I'm pretty sure you'll get a commentary on that at some point here on the channel as well, because we're just waiting for all of the hosts here to actually have go out and watched it. They haven't as of yet. Me and Max have seen it. So, without maybe kind of going into spoiler territory, Max, we can kind of reference some things in here, maybe that reminded us maybe of things that he ended up doing in the film.
Sure.
Because this is a comic that James Gunn had cited as he was inspired by going into making this Superman film of his. Obviously, it's not like an adaptation of the comic book, but and you were talking about this the other day, Max. I feel like there is definitely some things now, having watched the movie, certain things he pulled from this. And it's always interesting to see what, directors or creators in general take from stuff and are inspired by, and kind of what they end up doing with it. Right. Would you agree? In that sense? Yeah.
100%.
So what'd you think of this overall? I myself, I've read this a few times. I think this is your first time reading this, right, Max? This is written by Grant Morrison with art by Frank Quietly. It's a 12-issue series from DC Comics. I think it came out in the mid 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. But
06,
yeah, 2006, I think. I'll check that while you go ahead. But what'd you think of this?
So I knew about this book for a long time. I think this is kind of cited as like one of the best Superman stories.
2006, yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
This is one of the best Superman stories. A lot of people have that high on their list. Anytime I look up a list of best Superman books, this is always near the top, if not at the very top.
Mm-hmm.
So I was excited to finally read it, and I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's I don't read too many comic books, although I always have fun whenever I do read a book or whatever. And it's I couldn't even tell you what the last thing I read as far as the comic medium is concerned, but it was really good. No, I enjoyed it. I like how it's sort of an anthology kind of, but it's also, there's a larger story that's in the background, and it sort of builds up towards the conclusion. And yeah, I think it gives you a little bit of everything, kind of. It gives you a little bit of a little taste of all these sort of different aspects of Superman, and different villains or whatever, and different sort of types of stories. And so I think it's a very well-rounded story. And yeah, that's just my general thoughts.
Yeah, I like how you put it, because I would 100% agree with the fact that what's good about this comic, and when I read this when I was getting back into comics, probably over 10 years ago now, but when I got back into comics in my mid-20s, again, like you had mentioned, this was circulating as one of the best Superman stories. People were considering, not only for fans of Superman, but for people that are trying to access Superman for the first time, or maybe read a really good Superman story, people that are new to the character. And I think this book is really good for that reason. Like you stated, it is almost like an anthology. What's nice about it is it's almost like a snapshot of a lot of things and people in his world. And that's what I really liked about this book when I read read it, because I'm not the hugest Superman fan. I mean, I've read a lot more Superman now than I had at the time when I read this, but I never really got the character, or what made the character interesting, or what made the character great. I was always more fascinated by Batman and like other, a lot of more Marvel characters than DC. So when I read this and I was getting back in the comics and people cited this as something you should check out for Superman, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And when I read it, I was like, yeah, I get the hype. I get why people like this. I understand what the appeal is here, because there was so many, like I said, like snapshots, like you said, and we're going to go through this issue by issue and kind of maybe give you some additional thoughts here. We're going to throw up the art here in a second, guys. But that is the cool thing. My biggest takeaway from this story was that, and also the fact that Superman is sick in this comic, like he's dying, like at the start of this series. Sorry. And we're going to go into spoilers here, so, spoiler warning as always. But yeah, basically at the start of this, they kind of say that like he's got like a form, almost like a blood disease, like cancer, almost like he's dying like of radioactive, like sun radiation, basically. Like he's sucked in so much sun radiation that it's actually killing him. Like it's taking apart his like at a cellular level, like it's like destroying his body, right? So, which is like funny because, obviously Superman gets his power from the yellow sun, right? So Luthor comes up with this really genius way, I guess, to expose him to so much energy at once that he basically, his body can't break it down properly. And then they tell him that he's dying, right? So then they basically say, you don't have that much longer. And all of these things are going through his head. He's like, I need to like help so many people, and I got to do all these things, and I got to connect with everybody, and like he's like living out his last days, right? So like I'm like, as a concept, just on paper, that's very fascinating to me, because in my head I was like, nothing can destroy Superman. This is Superman. He's come back from the dead. Like this was a very interesting story from the get-go. I was like, that's very interesting. Like, so it hooked me right away. And we're gonna get into it, but that's really one of the main reasons why I really like this story as somebody who is new to the character, I'll say, because I hadn't really read too many things other than like 90s Death of Superman and stuff like that at that time, right? So and then it's kind of reading this, it was interesting to see like the little things that James Gunn had took from this for the film as well. Like he obviously took like the whole thing with the Fortress of Solitude with him and his robots.
Yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
Right. And other things, like there's even like certain panels that we're gonna see when we put up the art
and stuff.
Exactly.
Like that,
yeah.
So it's crazy, Zack Snyder too, because there was like a line later with his dad, and he says he'll join you in the sun, and that's like a line straight from Man of Steel. Yeah. So I can imagine like a lot of people, like a lot of filmmakers, if they were to make a movie about,
and this was fairly new at that time. This comic, yeah.
I can imagine like even future filmmakers who make like a Superman movie in the future or whatever, if they probably will use this as a resource. Like also it's almost like a very good resource to use maybe for a lot of people.
Yeah, so I mean, like you can check this out digitally online. It's available everywhere. They've also recently come out with those compact editions. They're like $9.99, really cheap. You can check them out. Like they've been putting out these small paperback versions of it recently, I guess, in light of the movie. And this is something that's always in print. It seems like they keep it in circulation. They like to call it like an evergreen book for the comics industry, like something they want to keep in bookstores, something they want to have accessible not only in bookstores but in comic book stores as well. So this is like one of those ones, they like Watchmen, that they always want to keep in print, usually DC, because this is like one of those staple Superman stories that people really point to and say like, I love that story. I always want to be able to pick that up if I find, or have it accessible to new readers, right, of the medium. So yeah, I read it in this Absolute edition, which is like the big deluxe oversized format. And I did want to point out though, if I only suggest maybe picking this up because it's a little bit more pricey if you're a big fan of this story or you like big collected editions like I do. But there's a lot of interesting back matter in the back of this, because Grant Morrison's the type of writer that he pulls from all kinds of old eras of the characters that he writes about usually. So there's all these interesting characters that show up in this story that you may not be familiar with, and even I'm not that familiar with. But in the back of this book, it actually cites different issues that he pulled characters from this character's history. Now, Grant Morrison always likes to do that, and I think that's really interesting how that Grant Morrison does that kind of thing. But I think to some readers sometimes it's not as accessible his work as a result, because you don't really know where some of these ideas are coming from. That's why like the first little bit kind of feels campy. Like it's kind of like more of a campy vibe, like an over exaggerated kind of weird vibe to the first few issues, because I think he's trying to do like the old school comics kind of tone, which I think something that James Gunn also kind of went for in his film, right? It's like the old Silver Age, Golden Age kind of old Superman story style, instead of like a more modernized version, right? So, but anyways, yeah, let's get into it here. Let's put these issues up on the screen here. Let's take a look at some of the art by Frank Quietly. What'd you think of the artwork in this?
I liked it a lot.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, because Frank Quietly's art's not for everyone.
Really,
honestly.
really.
Yeah, some people don't like his style. I'm a big fan of his.
What else has he done?
He's done a lot of stuff with Grant Morrison. He's done. Honestly, he doesn't do long runs on things. This is like one of the long, because he's so meticulous, like his style, like, and then the detail and stuff that he puts into it, and he's very slow. So he normally can't keep up with like.
Did he do the X-Men stuff too with Grant Morrison?
Yes, he did.
I think I noticed
not all of it, but some of it. That's the thing.
The early
yes,
issues?
I
noticed actually a little bit.
Yeah. You've read some of his X-Men stuff before?
Yeah.
So Quietly's worked on a bunch of things with him over the years, but this is probably, I would say, the thing he's most known for, though, in terms of his art, is this, just because like he also did some issues of The Authority before with Mark Miller, who obviously has had a lot of movies like Kick-Ass and other things adapted now.
Is it Miller or Millar?
Miller, I just say Miller. It's Mark Millar, but yeah, basically, he's worked with a lot of people, but he doesn't usually do long runs, because like I said, he's notoriously slow. Like it's funny because his art's very minimalistic, like in terms of what he actually puts on the page, but you can tell like all the detail that goes into his images despite that. Like he doesn't like to clutter a page full of shit in the background unless it's necessary. But like you'll see like all these tick lines and stuff and detail lines on stuff. Almost like kind of like you could say some of his stuff looks wrinkly sometimes, the characters, because of all like the kind of the detail lines he puts on people, right? But yeah, let's get into it here.
Is it Jamie Grant the inker, I'm assuming?
When it says I think Grant, it's the colorist on this. Yeah. Which I gotta tell you though, revisiting this, I never really felt like this before. I don't know. At some points the colors looked a little garish. I felt a little bit to me. Overall, I think it was a great package and well done, and I love the art. And in this oversized format for the book, it's really nice too. Here, if you wanted to take a look through it, when we talk, if you need it for reference, but yeah. So this first issue, basically, very quickly, like
I love this first page, by the way, because it just gets straight to the point.
Absolutely,
it shows a panel, and then like just 2 words to describe each sort of scenario.
Explains his origin in one fucking page.
Awesome.
That's how you do it. That's how
good.
you do it. That's how you do
it's
it.
So good.
This is why I get mad at so many films when they revisit the origins of these characters.
If it becomes just like this,
right?
It'd be perfect.
Right. So good. Yeah, good point. That's great stuff. So, and then it kind of just opens up with him flying through the sky here, and you kind of get dropped in the middle of this scenario that he's kind of in the middle of here. And as a result of what occurs here, he gets exposed to that radiation that I talked about, too much solar radiation. And then he he learns from this scientist character that Dr. Quintum, or I believe it is.
Is it Leo Quintum?
Yeah, Quintum. You would think it's Quantum, but it's Quintum, I think. It's for now.
By the way, is that a character that's been created for this, like, first appearance, or is that an old character?
So if you look in the back of that book I just handed you, I believe it's an older character from Superman. But again, he's not somebody that's used very often. He may have been created for this in particular, but if I know Grant Morrison, it's very possible he may have just pulled them from some old story, though. I might be wrong, because I know there's like some information at the back of that book that goes into like sites where some certain characters showed up for the first time that were in this story.
Leo Quintum.
What does it say?
It doesn't say like if he appeared in a.
Oh, so maybe this is a new character for this story then.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Here, do you want to look at it?
Yeah, let me see. Let me pass that here. Let me take a look quickly. But yeah, so because I know they gave some bios at the back here of some of these characters. Okay, so no, this is new to this story
Yeah.
because it says
I like the reason I ask because I like that character.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
like
he's
the way
great.
he looks.
He's got like
And
the Technicolor Dreamcoat
yeah,
kind of
I love the
jacket.
way he looks. I think he said something about like mixing like Willy Wonka with David
Mhm.
Bowie or something
I
like
mean, the
that.
haircut, that's yeah,
Yeah.
it absolutely looks like that. Yeah.
But I also like the idea of like Superman having like a scientist like in his back pocket to like help
Mhm.
him out. Like I don't know, I just like that
He was a
concept.
big part of this story,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
for sure,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
so he did.
One of my favorite like side characters.
Yeah, so
For
he
this
so
series.
it says here it was an attempt to create an updated take on the character of Superman's scientist friend. So I guess a character who existed in the comics in the vein of Email Hamilton from the animated
Oh
show
yeah, yeah.
and the 90s story. So there you go. So like he's just basing this is his
I
version of a character
remember
like
they
that.
had the email Hamilton, I think, character in Man of Steel.
Mhm.
Remember that guy with the glasses that was explaining
Mhm.
everything? And yeah.
So there you go. So this is his version of that. Yeah, like you said, visually he combines elements of David Bowie, Willy Wonka, and Joseph of the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Okay, so I didn't even read that there, but like looking at this, you could tell that right away looking at that character. So that's really interesting. There, if you wanted to hold on to that, but yeah, so even I would say like the Daily Planet stuff is something James Gunn definitely pulled from for his movie as well. I would say like even the characterizations of Cat Grant and Jimmy Olsen, especially like the guys
I didn't know Jimmy
like,
Olsen was such a like a pussy hound. Like, is
he's
that like a
not
thing?
though. Generally, this is the thing. In this story, he is. In the James Gunn movie, he is. Like I said, guys, we're gonna try to stay away from major spoilers. But in terms of characterization, that's the version that they go with. Is they go with this version of the character where it's like women want to be with him, men want to be him type of guy. You know what I mean? Which is just funny because Jimmy Olsen, he did used to go on like crazy adventures and stuff in the comics, the old comics, but this kind of angle that he took with the character was unexpected. But then you see them all interact with each other, Cat Grant and even that other guy in this, that guy who's kind of a douche, I forget his name, but all those characters are present in James Gunn's Superman film as well, right? Like I would say like the characterizations, the way that they kind of have the team here, it's very similar. There's even a scene later on in an issue where they get into a ship, which reminded me of a scene of what happened in the James Gunn version as well. So here's the thing. This is where Luthor kind of like the fallout of what had happened. He basically gets arrested here for crimes against humanity after this. His version of Lex Luthor is
awesome.
Fantastic. One of my
favorite
things about this story. I honestly don't feel like the story really takes off for me, honestly, until 4 issues in when we get the Lex Luthor in jail issue.
I love that
Yes,
issue.
that's where this story goes from like, like in hyperdrive, like
so
firing on all cylinders at that point. So yeah, I mean, we're getting that explanation of this here in this scene. And then Superman.
I love that line on the last page where he says, "I'm getting older and he isn't." Like, I love
yes,
that. Good line.
Where he comes to that realization of how he's been looking in the mirror and he saw a wrinkle or something the other day, right?
To work and kill
right,
Superman,
right. But that's the thing; they both actually are coming at it from the same place. He's kind of concerned with his time still left on this earth, and so is Superman.
Yeah, oh yeah,
and he puts him in this position, right? But that's the brilliant thing about it, and I really love how Luthor, like his direction, how he's constantly a man on the go trying to get shit done, learning things in the moment, even like picking up on stuff and like trying to master things. He's obviously very intellectual, and then Morrison goes with the whole storyline about how Superman's just disappointed in him because of the potential that he could bring with his mind to the world, but yet he chooses to do what he does, right? And he's obsessed with Superman, right? So it's just unfortunate in that sense that he's like such wasted potential, right? So here's the Quantum scene.
That's such an iconic panel. The top one,
yeah,
he's like holding
lifting
the I love that.
And this is where he breaks it to him basically that he's dying and he doesn't know how to solve it for him, unfortunately. And this is what I was talking about with Quietly's art before earlier too, is like how even like that last panel there, how minimalistic it is. It really is like no background, but there's like the objects that are in the frame. You're seeing all this great detail to them, everything from the wiring to like the little ticks of the cement on that actual piece of that he's lifting there, and things like this, and just like the small blood splatters that he has all over the wall there. I just really love his use of space, essentially. Frank Quietly, I think he's a master at doing that, like just having this layout, right? Like I know in in films, as we talk about framing, right? Like framing of a scene, essentially. Like in comics, it's like kind of it's the same deal, but it's more about like laying out the page, like how you're gonna set it up, right? So it looks great. But yeah, this is where he gets the news in this issue, and that's pretty much the biggest part of this first issue, is that he's told this and he kind of has to decide, from here, what he's going to do, where he's going to go with this information. How about the characterization of him as of Clark? Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's always the same. Like Clark Kent is like always like this bumbling oaf, and he's. I swear, does he trip in like every issue of like that he's in? Like,
I don't know if you notice though, every time he does, it's purposely to stop something from happening. And he pretends to play the oaf. I think it's just a really great piece of character work on Quietly's part, like how he transforms him into looking like this, like this whole panel of him like falling and like getting back up, doing up like the tie and everything else, and like how the clothes are loose fitting, you know what I mean? Like it's really smart, like how they kind of transformed him into like looking like this oafish character here.
I saw in the back, if maybe you want to share it, the way what's the guy's name who draws this?
Frank Quietly.
The way he like separates how like
Clark looks and how he looks.
Want to show that off?
Yeah, sure. Or no, you can put it up on the screen if you want. Here, I'll put you on the screen here if you want to bring it up to the screen.
Sort of how like Superman looks, or how Superman is drawn versus how Clark
is,
and like how Clark's back is like a little bit more arched, and Superman is
raise it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Like little details to show that the different characters.
Yeah, because you see his like sketch work, his preliminary pencils there. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, see, like just small little changes like that, like kind of create this whole new version of the character in a way, right? So yeah, this is Luthor at the end, like you said, and he's he's basically he has to do something, take care of Superman once and for all, essentially. And
it's crazy how Lex figured out that was gonna kill Superman. Like, how did he know that? Like,
and he kind of just throws it out like in the middle of that whole scene later on in the comic when he's interviewing him as Clark Kent, right? He's like, "Oh, it's okay. I know Superman's also dying, so it doesn't matter to me, right?" So yeah, and at the end of this issue, he reveals that he's Superman to Lois, which is a big deal too, right? So that's issue 1 of All-Star Superman. We'll go to issue 2 here. Also, I read something in the extra back matter of the Absolute as well. They talked about the process of the covers for this for their series. And Morrison purposely also wanted to do something more of like older throwbacky covers as well. Like comics back in the day, the covers actually used to tell a story of sorts, almost of what was actually inside the pages of the book. These days, it's just a lot of pinup art. It's like people just doing pinup images that have nothing to do with the story because they're drawing these covers months in advance. And it's just really not like it was back in the day, like old school comic covers. And a lot of the times too, they would incorporate word balloons as well. And one of the scenes on the cover, which is what would get you interested in checking out the comic, actually sometimes would actually happen in the book itself. So he kind of did this whole write-up about that and how that used to be the case. He said at the last minute they decided to go against doing the word balloons because he's like, he didn't want to make it that retro, but he did want to give it that feel of like old school covers as well. So like so Grant Morrison's actually also an artist. Like, yeah, so a lot of the time when he gives his scripts to artists, he'll draw out like kind of ideas for things that he wants, like images in the comic in the middle of the script. And he said all the covers he had worked out himself and kind of gave it to Frank to kind of change them up the way he saw fit and create the cover images that they did here. So there's a lot of like sketches and stuff like that in the back of that book that show the covers as well, which is really cool. So yeah, basically this is where he reveals to Lois that he's Superman. And this is basically they spend a day together here in this issue, right? If I'm not mistaken. Is this the one where he gives her the serum?
I think that's
the next one. Okay.
This is the one where they're just chilling in the fortress.
Oh, okay. I like this one too. I mean, this is fun because I loved seeing Superman's Fortress of Solitude and all this stuff in there. How he talks about how he keeps all these things. And the key was really cool, nice touch as well. How it's like no one can lift it on Earth. He's the only one that can lift it. Yeah. Because she's like, how could he just leave this key lying around? He's like, oh, it's okay. I'm the only one that can lift it. I thought that was just brilliant. I was like, that's awesome. Yeah, that's very cool, right? So it's easy to show in a comic book too. All you have have to do is have the character reacting to the fact that they can't lift it. Like in this scene, it cracks the actual crown when he puts it down. It's so cool. I was like, that's really neat. I always thought that was a cool idea. But yeah, I just loved seeing the Fortress of Solitude and all these like little like knickknacks and like items. He's got the Lost City of Bottle City of the Candor people there, and he's got even instead of the instead of the Two-Face coin, he's got a Joker coin, kind of similar to Batman's Two-Face coin that he has in his Batcave in the comics. He's got a chessboard with a bunch of characters that people that he knows.
He's got that glass thing on the. It's like that's like a city, like a civilization.
Yeah, that's the Lost City, the Bottle of Candor. Yeah. And that which is kind of mentioned later on in the comics as well. But again, there's just so much history of the character in even this one page. That's kind of fun. You just kind of get to look at these things and reference them, and they
it makes me realize how much like shit that Superman has to juggle, like all these things he has to take care of, and he has like later they show like he has like a zoo or something, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Which again, I was reminded about something that happened in the James Gunn Superman, because there's a moment where he wants to take a big creature and keep it for observational purposes, right? And it doesn't go that way, but but that's kind of like similar to what he wanted to do in this. Like you said, he kind of brings alien creatures to some sort of alien zoo of some sort, so he can study them and observe it, because they kind of go on the whole angle that he's also like a scientist almost of sorts, like someone who has many interests in like things, right? So I thought that part was really cool about it, because I feel like Morrison didn't go with the whole like he's a Kansas boy and therefore maybe he's not that smart. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's not like he's only a big oaf as Clark Kent, and even though he's a brilliant writer and is recognized as one in this as well, right? He really kind of makes Superman very smart in this, which I really like. I don't think a lot of writers have really gone that route. They just make him more of a good-hearted person as opposed to also a very smart character. So I kind of like that as well about this. But what else do you like about this issue here, Max? Any other thoughts on this one?
The back and forth between Lois is kind of cool. I always wondered, like, and this is like kind of an off-topic thing, but I always just kind of was curious, like, what does Superman see in Lois Lane? Like, she's always like down talking him when he's like in Clark mode or whatever. So although just like she's like kind of not a nice person in a way, like, so she's kind of like a mean.
It's kind of catty,
yeah. I'm just like, what is there like? What are you attracted to?
That's a good point. Yeah,
but and the similar thing always happens. Like,
well, that's why Lana Lang was his first true love, right? I think it's Lana Lang.
Oh, when he was in Smallville, and stuff like that. And personally, me, I always liked it. Like, I know a lot of people might not agree, but I always liked it when he like hooks up with Wonder Woman. I feel like they're more like matched up.
Absolutely, but I remember when that happened in the comics, like
was it like Kingdom Come, I think, because Lois had passed.
Well, that may have been. I can't remember if that happens in Kingdom Come, but there's an actual series, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, like New 52 period, where there actually was a Superman and Wonder Woman series where it was like a romance comic almost. And it's like them teaming up together and they're dating, and people fucking hated it at the time. I remember they're like, "What is this bullshit?" I was at a panel when they talked about it at Fan Expo. They announced it, and people were like, they literally, like, there was somebody from the crowd that was like, we want to see more like this kind of stuff in comics. And then they announced this, and people booed that, and they're like, well, I don't know what you want. The editor that was there is just like, listen, man, like, this is what people want. They say they want this kind of thing.
Was that Jeff Johns' Justice League?
No, this was Charles Soule wrote the series. It's called Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, it's actually called that?
It was this ongoing series that they created where they were dating for a period of time during the New 52. It didn't last long, I'll just say that. Maybe for a year or two though. So, but it was going on, to your point, during Jeff Johns' Justice League New 52. Yes. It was going on during that period, but it was a series though that they launched that was just focusing on them being together, that people were not a fan of at the time, I remember. But I agree with you though. I don't really have that much of a problem with it personally, right? But I feel like the more interesting thing is always to have a love interest possibly between Batman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, because they've kind of, that's always been like hinted at.
Yes.
I'm sure they've hooked
That's
up,
much
probably
more interesting, to be honest, than I think the Superman Wonder Woman thing. So that's almost like, I'm strong, I'm stronger.
It makes sense to me. Like, I remember Frank Miller. There's like an interview where he's talking. He's like, I always hated how like superheroes have like normal girls for girlfriends. Like, why? Like, So
Yeah, this guy would.
I think that's when he created Electro.
This guy would tear her apart, you know. But yeah, this is where he kind of.
I had a question. So why do you think they showed like in the previous pages why they
the
showed
pencil images?
Yeah, like the black and white.
I don't know. I was curious about that too. I thought it was an interesting thing to do because it's just his pencils, no color in those images. But I'm not.
I like it, but I'm just curious, like why that. Was.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you either.
At first, I thought was it like to show how Superman appears when he's in the newspapers. Like when they print, because they're in the newspaper
maybe
business, right?
Because this is during the time where she doesn't believe that he's Clark. Like he's sitting there trying to convince her that he's Clark, and she's already met with Superman a bunch of times, but he's like trying to say like, no, I'm Clark, right? And he's like, I don't believe it. Maybe that's why, because she's trying to see it all like in black and white or something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question, because I was thinking that upon revisiting this, why they did that. I liked it, but I couldn't tell you what the intention was behind it. But yeah, then he basically has her stay over there. He's got her there for the night. And this is when there's that transmission. So this kind of pops up later on.
Yeah, this guy.
This is interesting. So this is basically a take on the Unknown Soldier, but he calls him, this is the Superman, unknown Superman or something from the future, he calls himself, I believe is what they call him. But basically the Unknown Soldier was a character in DC that had wraps across his face too. It was like more of like a war character. Mm-hmm. But I like how they kind of used it for this to hide this guy's identity. And you find out later on what his deal is, which is pretty cool. So, but yeah, so basically at the end of this, she starts running around yelling for Superman, after that whole thing. And she getting freaked out about that. She ends up shooting him with a Kryptonian, I think, gun there at the end. And
but because of the funny thing is the amount of radiation that he's taken in, he's no longer like weak to kryptonite.
Well, yeah, he's more powerful than he's ever been right now, and he even has like new moves and all this kind of stuff. But it's only for a short period of time until he starts getting weaker later on, right? So it's like I feel like this whole thing takes place within like a week or two's time, honestly. Which I'm kind of glad he didn't go like the one issue per day route, because I think we've seen that done by other people. Like if 12 days left, 12 issues type of thing. Right. But basically it is almost like a day in the life every issue in a way. Like they try to focus on something else. So at the end of this issue, like we were talking about, he shows her a surprise for her birthday, Lois Lane here, and reveals that he's got a suit for her. But there's this whole scene where like she sees something going on in there, and she's freaked out at first. He's like, it's not what you think, right? Like because she's got like a version of Lois Lane. Is that in the next issue or is that in this one? I can't remember. But it's this whole creeping moment where it looks like he's basically making like a fake Lois Lane in his lab or something at one point. Right. And I think that happens later on, but no, it is in this one. Yeah, see, there's this scene where you're flipping past the art where there's a whole scene where she accidentally walks in on a room and there's one of his robot attendants there, and there's like pictures of Lois Lane on the wall, because I guess he's trying to figure out how to kind of make something to her anatomy, right? Like her like for the suit and for the serum that he's going to give her, right? So she gets really freaked out by this, and he's like, oh, it's not what you think, let's just go, right? and then at the end of the issue, she gets really freaked out by what has been occurring here in this one, and that's why she like accidentally attacks him at the end. But
can I just say, I know this is kind of like a little overlap, but I much like the robot assistants more in the book than I did the movie. I don't know, they were just more cooler and more kind of like I don't know, they just had a cooler look. They actually had the S on their chest. I don't think that was in the movie or whatever.
I can't remember, but yeah.
And,
I like them in this.
Yeah, I like them a lot too. Has that always been a thing with Superman? He always has like robot assistants.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going into issue 3 here. This is basically where she's Superwoman for a day, essentially, because it's her birthday. He reveals that he has this serum that I guess he got Dr. Quintum to make up after he went in for all those tests. And
he made it.
Oh, did he make it?
Remember, he gives it to him at the end. He gives
that's right. And that's why he's like, do you trust me with this? And he's like, I absolutely do trust you. You're right. So he made this up.
Which I think it goes to what you're saying, how smart he is. He can create.
You're right. It's just the whole time, like Quintum's doing everything else in this book. So I kind of lumped that in with him there. So yeah, so he made this for for Lois Lane to basically have his powers for a whole 24 hours, like a day, essentially. And then they basically go out and she experiences how it is to be Superman. They go and fight some people, this weird lizard creature guy that's who's kind of, you know, terrorizing Metropolis here. And you get to see her be Superwoman essentially for a day as they're flying through the air, and she's got powers. And that's, you know, that's basically this issue. I like this one as well. I mean, I like every issue, but I think, like I said, once we get to the Luther issue, that's where it really kicks off in high gear for me. But this was a good one. This is kind of cool for her to experience this. And it kind of leads to the end of the issue where she's like, why are you like doing all this like right now? And you're revealing that you're like, she kind of gets it in her head, like something's going on with him early on here. Oh yeah. And this is also where they meet Samson, essentially. And, Samson and Goliath. Atlas. Yeah. Not Goliath. Yeah.
The dick measuring contest that happens in this
That's right.
issue.
That's right. What'd you like about this one?
I liked it a lot. I like Lois getting Superman's powers and stuff, and I do like Samson and Atlas. I thought they were like some funny comic. They're like trying to steal Lois from him and stuff, and yeah, I thought it was a really funny, like really nice, like slice of life kind of issue. You know?
They basically put everything on the line, and they're like, okay, well, if you do, you know, you do something more amazing than we do, we'll you know, you can have her. If not, we're taking her with us, kind of thing.
Don't they know? But at this point, wouldn't they know if they're so familiar with Superman? Don't they know that they can't like mess with him and stuff? Or?
Well, these guys are from the future. Am I correct? Because he's the one that tells them about the 12 feats of strength, like Herculean kind of like tasks almost that he has to. Remember, like he mentions, somebody from the future mentions to him that I believe it's them that tell him about, like someone tells him basically that you have to complete all these things before you die, essentially. Right? I think it was him who told him, if I'm not mistaken, but
I think they like exist in like they go back and forth
in
like time.
But they're the ones that tell him that he has all these things he needs to complete because along with other people, he shows him the paper. He shows him the paper and says, like, I'm aware that you die in the future, by the way. So that's what he says. Like, you have a lot to take care of before that happens. And this is why, like, towards the end of the series, Superman's like, at that point, he's weak, he's sweating, he's like way weaker, like, and he's like, oh, I'm running out of time. Like, I still got to do this. I still got to do that. He told me I had this many things to take care of. I've done this many things so far. So yeah, this is where he kind of puts it in his head, like you said, because they're time traveling characters, right?
And I just noticed they revealed that Clark Kent wrote that article.
Yes.
One of the Superman.
Well, that's his big his big paper that he wrote.
I'm noticing there's a lot of callbacks, like back and forth, like
this, like Watchmen, but not on the same level, is a book that when you revisit it, you start noticing a lot different, because they play with a lot of, as they do in Superman comics and comics in general, a lot of time type stuff going on, time traveling type things happening. There's a great issue later on where that's revealed, that's what's going on, and I thought that's like one of the coolest issues in this series, honestly. But yeah, there's like this Rama Tut character type of guy that shows up.
Makes him like answer some riddle or whatever.
So that was pretty cool. And yeah, he basically proves how amazing he is, and gets Lois back, protects her from this. Oh yeah, it's because these time traveling guys, they stole something from him, the big necklace that they give Lois Lane, and that causes them to come and fight him essentially and find these guys. So good issue. Yeah, you're right. This is another good one. I mean, they're all good, but
I like this part when they arm wrestle.
But yeah, like you said, like it's more of like a day in the life of slice of life, kind of like just spending time with Superman with these oh yeah, this headline: Greek hero Atlas at lowest party. Atlas scores, and he's got 2 broken arms. He's just like that was funny too. Yeah, I liked that. This is a very iconic image from this, like on the slipcase of the Absolute Edition. Actually, it's on the actual slipcase, this image of him kissing her on the moon and being able to do this. This is something that he wanted to do with her, and he was able to actually experience this with her as a result of her having the powers for 24 hours. And, you know, then they go and they sit on top of the building here, and he puts her to bed, and sweet dreams Superwoman, as you see on the title of the issue, which I love how they actually give it at the end of every issue. It's more meaningful at the end because it kind of gives you an idea of what the idea behind this issue was as well, right? Where they came up with the title, and that's it for her being Superwoman, right, in that issue. Another good one. And then we're going in the issue 4 now. This is the Jimmy Olsen
when
issue.
he becomes Doomsday. Right?
Yeah, this is the Jimmy Olsen issue. So this character, also the girlfriend character in this, is similar, I would say, in tone to the James Gunn movie as well. Whatever's going on.
Girlfriend, right?
Yeah. So again, like this, they give you this idea of his lifestyle in this, how he has all these friends and he has all these identities and he goes on all these adventures and he has all these women that are interested in him and men as well, as he states in this issue. So like it's kind of an interesting look and version of Jimmy, where I've never read a Jimmy Olsen as interesting as kind of, or different, I'll say, than the version in this. Actually, there's one other thing. There's a series that Matt Fraction wrote with Jimmy Olsen where he really took the character of Jimmy Olsen and tried to make him like larger than life as well in that series. It's called Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen, which was based on the name of an older series they did back in like the 60s. So yeah, so that came out a few years ago. I would also suggest checking that out for anyone who's interested. But this is a great version of Jimmy Olsen in this. I mean, what'd you think of this, Max?
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, it was a good story.
In comparison, though, not one of your favorite issues, it sounds like, probably compared to some of the others.
Like I don't think there's a single issue in this story that I don't like. I just think maybe
there's varying degrees of how much you enjoy.
Yeah, I think I just like other ones more.
So he takes it, he takes his jacket and Dr. Quintum, he hooks him up in this issue, and he goes off and does some of his own experimentation. Like Max had said, he turns into a doomsday creature in this issue as well. And by the end of it, he like causes all these issues, right? Like meddling with whatever he was messing around with. And Superman has to come in and save the day as he does, right? And I love how they kind of make reference to the fact that Jimmy Olsen, he's got that watch to alert Superman at all times, because Jimmy Olsen's Superman's best friend. And if he ever needs his help, he's, just seconds away, right? And yeah.
Does Jimmy know that he's Clark? I couldn't remember.
So in this comic, no.
Yeah.
But in other comics that I've read, yes. And I think there's like, they allude to the fact that like he's always throwing out these like, oh, I guess you did this, like Clark must be here or whatever. It almost sounds like he's covering for him, but he doesn't actually know. I feel like he's just kind of gullible. He's a little bit of still of a gullible Jimmy Olsen characterization in this, but he is also somebody who's very interesting character. It does a lot of and this is where he gets the black kryptonite, and it makes him pissed off and freaked out, right? He exposes him to it, and every different color kryptonite does something different to Superman. This is the one that drives him insane, essentially, and angry, I believe. Or is that red kryptonite? I think that's red kryptonite that drives him insane. This one basically makes him evil, right? Yeah. So that's basically the.
By the way, I love every time when he's flying and it shows like the blur. It just shows the lines.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like
real simple way of conveying that, though. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, and great way of doing it too, right? So, so that's basically this issue.
No, it's a good issue. I like this one. Yeah.
This is where him turning into the doomsday creature here, and basically has to take him down, and then he basically, what does he take? How does he cure him? Well, yeah, he injects him with something, I think, right? Yeah, he cures him essentially here at the end of this issue.
Is this like a wristwatch he has?
Yeah. He turns him back to normal, and then at the end of the day, he goes back to the girlfriend, and he's got the tickets that he picked up from somebody for the Frankenstein musical or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely reminded me basically of at least he's more interested in this girl than he was in the one that Lex's or his ex-girlfriend in the James Gunn version, but it kind of reminded me of the versions of those characters as well in the film. All right, so this is probably my favorite issue of the whole series right here.
It's a good one.
It's where it really kicks off. Obviously, the ending's really good too, but this is like I said, where the first few issues they're easing you into it. There's some goofy kind of like campy type of stuff happening in those first few issues as well. That's like from past comics from the past, like Silver, Golden Age, Superman stuff, and it's good. But this is where it's just like a very, I felt like, more up to date, modernized, evil kind of look at like Lex Luthor and how much like you believe that this man is an actual actual villain, like a foe of Superman in this
Yeah.
issue, like how smart and cunning and ahead of everybody, like 5 steps ahead of everyone he is in this issue.
Lex is a great character
I-
overall.
I-
He's just
he
so good,
is,
yeah.
but again, there's just so many different characterizations of him at this point in time that you got to really pick and choose your favorites. And for me, this is probably one of my favorite characterizations of the character
Have you read
ever.
that Lex Luthor Man of Steel, the one that Brian
Yep, Azzarello, yeah, and
that
Lee
was a good
Bermejo.
one,
Yes, I
yeah.
did read that one. That's
That was a
also a
good
very
one.
good
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah. That's like he's more of like a cutthroat corporate guy,
Yeah.
essentially, though, right? And in this, it's like, you know, this is great. He's like up on this podium, and they basically serve him life again for crimes against humanity. He's just could not give a shit. He's just like whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I love it.
He's just such a piece of shit in this. It's great. And like, you know, then he goes there and he's doing everything and anything in the jail when Superman shows up as Clark Kent to interview him.
Like a super genius.
Yeah, he's like working on a robot. He's like mastering like a language. You know, he's like doing all this crazy shit. And this is a guy where you're like, dude, you don't have left long on this planet. Why are you working out? Like this guy's like about to get fried on the electric chair.
Yeah,
And he's like working out. And he's like, why is this guy working out even? Like, you're like, who cares?
I know
at this
it's
point?
in a later issue, but when they do put him in the electric chair,
Yeah.
and he like drinks serum,
Yeah,
and he survives, he's like, you idiot.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you let me drink the thing that was saving me.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
good. Oh my god.
And then even in this scene, this robot, he's like trying to make it like some sort of linguist, like he's like some robot is supposed to teach you how to like speak different languages, read literature. That's what it was. And he's pretending like this is the only purpose for it, but meanwhile, like he was using this as a way to like escape from his prison. And like Clark Kent, like Superman as Clark Kent, that's why he like bumbles around and like accidentally trips up the machine. He's like, Clark, you idiot, like what are you doing? And he basically destroys the machine because he knew that this was like all a part of his plan, right? And he kind of reveals that afterwards. He's like,
so Lex doesn't know that.
No.
Clark is Superman.
Well, he's literally telling him to his face, like he's like, I think you're a great writer. He's like, but Superman, I hate that guy. Like, you know, it's like that's the one thing though. It's so funny that he can never figure out was his identity. He even says that he looked into the fact that, you know, he could possibly be him, like, you know, because of his build and everything else. But he knows that he is like, he doesn't think he has an imminent because he's like, this is the thing. He tells him how human he is in these scenes and like how he actually likes him. And that's, if he ever understood that this was actually Superman, it would kill him. It would destroy him, right? If he actually learned at this point. So I just love this issue, honestly. Just all these scenes of them talking together while he's in the gym and he's interviewing him, and you know, meanwhile he's like planning his escape like we didn't know this whole time, right? Like, so.
And also I like the back and forth, even like Clark sort of like, you know, asking him like, don't you think you could use your time and your resources towards like better things? And yeah, I like the dialogue that's going on between these two characters.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing I was talking about earlier. Is like the wasted potential. That's what bothers Clark. He's like, wouldn't you want to do something better with your time to help people? Like, he's like, you're a genius, right? Like, why are you? But that's what makes the character great. His obsession with Superman is the one thing he can't get past, essentially, right? Like he's you know, his own worst enemy, essentially.
And it's also such a good characterization of like Superman because he like sees the good in everybody, even this sort of like irredeemable character that Lex is. He even sees like the good in him. It's
exactly. So that's
and then there's like a monster in the prison.
It's what's his name? What the fuck is his name? I know his name. He's a Parasite. This is a famous Superman villain. This is one of the main villains in his rogues gallery, Parasite. He just basically siphons energy off of people, and that happens here in this scene. And Luthor doesn't care about it because he's like, "What is this guy going to siphon the power off of a toaster?" He's like, "Who cares? This guy's going to get a little big for a moment, and then they'll take care of him." And meanwhile, Clark's freaking out because he's aware that he's siphoning power off of him because he's Superman. Yeah. And Luthor is just like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, let's just continue our conversation." And then all of a sudden, Superman's like, "I'm so weak." Like he's like, because the Parasite's just getting bigger and bigger, so much so that he basically collapses the floor underneath.
So he was sucking Superman's power.
Yes,
in this scene.
He basically siphons energy off of people that are nearby him. He's an all-consuming like force, essentially.
In this page.
Yeah,
that's what he was doing.
Yes, okay. That's why he keeps getting bigger, and that's why like Superman like gets weaker, like he's almost stumbling there for a moment. And you know, and then Luthor is kind of like not even caring because he doesn't think there's like enough power around to actually make a difference. But Superman does know there is, because he's in disguise as Clark there, right? So that's what basically happened in this scene. But again, Luthor has a way out. He brings him through like the underground of the prison.
I love that shot, by the way, with the late when he's using his heat vision to heat the pipes.
Yeah, and when all that's going on, he pretends like he's tripping over Luthor, and he's like, "What the hell are you doing? You're getting in my way!" And he like trips him up, but he knocks somebody out that was gonna attack him. You know, so he's bumbling around like Clark doing his thing. And then yeah, basically Luthor, he leads him to like an underground passage within the prison. Seems like these are all things that he's already thought out in terms of escape if need be, but he stays there and he leads Superman out. And there's this really interesting scene here at the end. I don't know if you caught that. This may be the first time I've ever noticed, Max, upon reading this, but you know, oh yeah, he kicks the shit out of Parasite at the end.
Does he kill him?
Yeah, he basically, it seems like that way. Yeah, basically. But there's this really cool moment at the end where it's almost like he's like the devil and he's like bringing him out on the river Styx almost, because everything turns red as he goes into the underground here, and he introduces you to his niece who's like a really weird character. But and he has to draw his eyebrow back on because it got singed, which I thought was a really fun panel. But yeah, but look at this scene here. It's almost like he's in hell.
Yeah.
I just thought that was very interesting. I never noticed that about it, but upon revisiting it this time, I was like,
what prison would have this part? It's so yeah, it's interesting.
So I was like, oh, that's kind of, I don't know if this is just them just trying to illustrate how evil he is or something, and because as he sees Superman off, or Clark Kent off and onto the boat, it's almost like he's going through like the river Styx, and his niece is basically the one who's like, you know, guiding him there. I thought that was very interesting, and how the color palette just changes all to red all around them, right? So I've never noticed that before. But look at this final image. You know what I mean? So like that's what it reminded me of. I don't know if that was purposeful or not. It must be. He must be commenting maybe on something like that.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Even she kind of looks like like one of those Greek mythic sort of type characters.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I felt like this time around reading this. I don't think I've ever caught that before. So that's pretty interesting imagery at the end there, I thought. Great issue, though. Good stuff. And then we're moving on to 6 here. We're about basically halfway through. Okay, is this the crypto issue? I believe. Oh, this is the one with his father. Okay, so what'd you think about this?
Sad. It's sad, yeah.
So this is the one where all the people, the Supermen from the future come. Yes. Okay. So he's on the farm with his dad and Crypto in this. And this is the death of his father in this issue, and it's really sad. And you meet 3 Supermen from the future. One that's the unknown Superman, as I mentioned earlier. One that's like a Mr. Mxyzptlk, like a version of Mr. Mxyzptlk that's a Superman from another dimension from the future.
Yeah.
And the other one is a version of which character is he? I forgot. Oh yeah, no, he just looks like another kind of like
Kent.
Yeah, Calvin Elder, he calls himself. Clark Kent, my name's Calvin Elder. Yeah, he's just basically like another Superman looking guy, yeah, from the future, but
I think it's his descendant, right? Like many thousands years.
Yeah, so they're all from like different because basically like the Legion of Superheroes and stuff exist in the Superman as well. Like he's had a lot of like adventures in the future and people coming back from the future and all this and that. But the cool reveal about this issue is you find out the unknown Superman is actually Clark Kent, and that this story takes place in the past. Which is kind of funny because when you read this the first time around, you're like, where is this taking place? Like, it does throw you for a loop a little bit, because there's a part where Luthor even mentions something about his parents' graves earlier on in the series, where he mentions something about Clark's parents and about his father being dead. So then you read this story, and they didn't really let you know at first that this takes place in the past. But then when it's revealed that the unknown Superman is actually Clark, trying to see him one last time because he knows he's dying, it was really effective, honestly. Like, it really hits you right in the feel, so to speak, like in that sense. Like it's a very touching moment. And again, Superman's up against something that he couldn't actually stop because he wastes time trying to take care of this thing. And it's almost like the Uncle Ben thing in a way, where instead of, but he's not selfishly making a decision here. He's trying to help out with something. And because he helps out with this, even though these Supermen tell him not to waste his time with it, he misses the last second that his father ends up having a heart attack in the fields and dying. And he's not with him in those last few seconds. And then all of a sudden, Clark feels, he's like, oh, Pa's heartbeat. Like he feels it and he rushes towards him to try to save him. But he's like, it's the one thing I can't save people from, essentially. Like, and it's just such a humanizing moment for the character that he's Superman and he still can't help his father from getting killed, right? Because it's from heart disease, right? So really effective, honestly. Did you like this as well?
I liked it.
Yeah.
It was really heartbreaking, honestly. It was really emotional issue.
And really well illustrated once again. And the reveal, what'd you think of the reveal about him being the actual Superman we've been following through this story, the unknown Superman?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that coming?
No, not at all.
Okay, so it was effective for you. Okay,
for
good. Yeah, because
I like that shot where his hair is catching off. I guess because he's flying so fast. Is that what that's happening?
I believe so. Yeah, because this is when he feels his father's heartbeat. Pa, not my pa. Yeah, and then you see the whole funeral proceeding moments. But again, he gets to experience that one more time because he's going through his last days. And this is the whole reason where he had to disguise himself from his past self as the unknown Superman, right? He's like, I know if I had said something that I would have tried to save him if I could have, right? And, again, this is why I hated on some of the decisions not to go back to it made in Man of Steel with the way that they chose to take out his father in that, right? So I thought the heart disease, kind of him dying of a heart attack, is just such a more human approach and something that Superman wasn't able to stop no matter how hard he tried, right? Because he's not a human, he's an alien at the end of the day, right? So I just thought that's a very good kind of choice on their part to do that. This also happened in the comics as well, the heart disease thing. Yeah, this isn't just something I think that happened in All-Star Superman.
That's how Jonathan dies
in the comic. Yeah, but now I believe they're alive in the current comics again. I don't know.
Yeah, they keep bringing him back.
Yeah, because they relaunched with the New 52 and everything else.
Retelling the story,
right? But that is something that I think they did in the 90s. I think where they killed him off because it was a heart disease thing as well.
Superman Prime 1 million or whatever, the golden.
Yeah, I believe that was him.
That was
actually.
A nice little reveal,
yeah. And Morrison references the fact that he's actually the one that created with the New 52 that there's 52 multiverses essentially. Like he's the one that came up with that idea, and like he did this whole series where he described and has a graph of all the different universes within the DC universe. And like, there's a Watchmen universe, essentially, you know what I mean? So there's all these stories that exist throughout DC's history that don't make sense with the current continuity. They have their own universe. So there's a Kingdom Come universe. There's a Watchmen universe.
Only 52?
There's 52. Yes. There's 52 different dimensions, essentially, like different worlds that exist on their plane of existence. So All-Star, that was what, number 7 or 6? 6, I believe, right?
That was 6.
Yeah, so this is number 7 now. Okay.
Bizarro issue.
Yeah. So what do you think of this?
That's good, yeah.
So this is my one gripe about All-Star Superman. This should have only been one issue. Instead, they spend 2 issues on the Bizarro world stuff. And for me, Bizarro goes a long way because I feel like the gimmick gets old really fast. Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
But the second issue in this story is pretty great, how there's a normal character on Bizarro World, where we'll get to that in a moment here. But I just feel like he could have compacted that story into one issue. I just felt like you're going to waste 2 fucking issues in this series out of all the things. How every other issue, it seems like it's a singular story about something, whereas this one leads into the Bizarro attack on Earth, leads into him stuck on Bizarro World. Or underneath the earth or something, like the under earth or whatever he calls it in this, right? I think, is that what he calls it? Like there's like the earth that's like underneath, essentially. So yeah, he basically brings this whole Black Sun Eater out at the start of this.
Oh, that's like that little creature that he's taking care of, right?
Yeah. So basically these Bizarros attack the earth and he's unable to stop them, but then he ends up getting transported to their world. and a lot of this is in the next issue, but this is basically the setup in this issue. All these people are getting attacked by them. There's a funny joke in this, actually. That guy who's like a douchebag that works for the paper.
Yeah.
See, they're like, I don't know why, but I'm invulnerable to the Bizarro.
Oh, yeah, and then it turns out, yeah.
And he's like, well, it looks like you got some sort of special enhancement drug in your bloodstream. This guy took like a Viagra or something.
So that's what makes him not turn Bizarro. That's
he's like, I'm pretty sure not everybody could take that.
That was funny.
It was just like a little joke that they threw out there. But yeah, Superman basically helps the Daily Planet team against the Bizarro attack on Earth. But the Bizarros end up doing a lot of damage. And like I said, the fallout of this issue is he ends up in Bizarro.
Page, by the way.
This one?
Yeah.
You like that image?
Yeah, like the destruction of the city, and then the kid is coming up to the Superman, and it's revealed like, yeah, I really like this.
Here's the thing, like, I don't mind Bizarro as a concept, and I'm you absolutely needed to involve him within this series because they're like looking at all these different aspects of Superman and his characters and his world.
I'm crazy that they even put like Doomsday in there. I wasn't expecting that.
But the one thing I feel like they could have included in this that they didn't, that they instead of having 2 issues of Bizarro, was a Mr. Mxyzptlk issue. He's a big part of him too. I mean, he showed up as super right.
That little Easter egg,
I just felt like it would have been cooler if they actually had an issue with him, kind of, coming and spending a day with him as well, because that was like an ongoing thing in the comics. That every so often he would pop into his world from whatever dimension that he's from, and he would mess with Superman essentially and his world, and he would have to figure out a way to get him back every time. He was like, he had to make him say his name essentially, like Rumpelstiltskin, essentially, right? Yeah. To send him back.
Say his name backwards?
Yeah. So I like Mr. Mxyzptlk a lot. So I would have rather seen him in one issue as opposed to getting 2 Bizarro issues, but that's all right. That's my one criticism about this series.
The only thing about the Bizarro thing is just trying to decipher their dialogue, because it's
kind
of like
it's hard.
It's hard to understand.
The opposite of everything almost.
And I just noticed that their world is like a cube, not a.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Everything is different.
See, that's what I mean. It's fun to a certain degree, but it's like I said, a little bit goes a long way for me when it comes to the Bizarro stuff. It becomes tough to kind of decipher everything and figure out, like you said, even the Bizarros speak. Anyways, this is like a scene that kind of again reminded me of the Gun movie when they all of the Daily Planet go into a spaceship in this scene. It kind of reminded me similar to something that happened in the film. But yeah, that's basically this issue. He kind of leaves Earth because he has to take care of this issue with the Bizarros, and he leaves them for a period of time as well, a couple months from what I remember as they get into the issue following this. They mentioned that he's left Earth for a couple of months and someone else had taken over in his place during that period of time, right? So that kind of does it for this Bizarro issue. It sets him up. And then he meets Zabaro at the end of this, which is basically the Superman, the one that's unlike all of the other Bizarros. He's essentially the freak on Bizarro World, because 1 out of a million people or something, he says, are born the way that he is, which is normal. Speaking normal, having normal thoughts, it being a smart, intelligent person like he is, as opposed to the Bizarros, which are like wacky, right? The characters. So that's kind of where we left off with Zabaro, which is really cool. I do like that character. Here's the thing. I like the second issue more than I like this. I just wish he could have combined it into one, because I do ultimately like the story, but I just felt like if you're going to waste 2 issues on this, it would have been nice to have a little less Bizarro in these 2 issues. So. But yeah, we're going into issue 8 here now. What'd you think of this, the conclusion to the Bizarro story?
Yeah, I think like you, this is maybe not one of my favorites. It's sort of like in the lower rank if I had to rank them, but it's good. It's funny, the Zabaro, the opposite of the fact like they have that one normal guy who like longs to leave because he's like tortured by how stupid everybody is, and like he just wants to
there's a part,
the first intelligent guy amongst a bunch of morons.
There's a part where towards there's a certain part of it where Superman tries to start communicating with them because he wants them to build him a rocket to get the hell out of there, and he's like, don't bring yourself to their level. Like he starts talking like, I am this, blah, blah, blah. Like the way he starts talking, me am this, like Zabaro just shakes his head. He's like, Superman, don't stoop to their level of intellect. What's wrong with you? And he's just because and all the people in Bizarro World hate this guy because he's intelligent. They're like, me don't like this. No, me like this guy, which is the opposite of me not like him, right? It's just funny.
I just remember, you know what? This is like because it's I think it was there was like a stat reveal that every episode of Seinfeld has like a reference to Superman, like every or whatever.
There's a whole Bizarro episode, the Bizarro Jerry.
Bizarro World. I think that's the first time I ever heard of this concept. Of
Bizarro. That's what I mean. It's a fun idea.
I love that episode of Seinfeld.
Same, where they meet each other in the street, and it's like a guy that looks like Kramer.
Elaine starts hanging out with them, and then realizes like
there's only one Elaine. Yeah, and then she goes to the Bizarro coffee shop, and it's like Reggie's or whatever.
I love that episode.
And like Jerry's like, what? You went to the Bizarro coffee shop? It's just the opposite of everything in his world, right? And like Jerry, instead of like being a dick, is like polite. Like they're all like nice people. That's the difference.
They're reading at the coffee shop instead of like
She like goes inside his apartment, starts eating out of his fridge. He's like, you can ask first. He's like, have some manners.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they just act like pigs at Jerry's place. Yeah. But I just love how much Jerry loves Superman.
Oh yeah, of course. That was a big part because the writers of the show were also comic book fans. A lot of them, like they are.
Really, I didn't know that.
One of the writers and creators, main writers of Seinfeld. I forgot his name. Huge original art collector, like in the comic book community. He's like somebody that drops like crazy amounts of money on original art. Huge comic book fan. Yeah, I forget his name, but he's known like throughout the comic community. He went on to write Veep as well. Like he's a very big comedy writer.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I forget which one it is, but yeah, very big in the comic book community.
Nice,
so that's why there's like
Larry David into comics too, or
I think into Superman. Jerry's the one that's in Superman.
Jerry.
Larry David, I don't think so, but I think it's more Jerry than anything. But some of the writers were as well. That's why you got some of those episodes, right? So yeah, Dr. Quintum here. I think he's still working on like a cure to help him. Mm-hmm. Is this where he reveals to Lois that he's dying by accident? Yeah. There's that.
And they also reveal, I think maybe last issue, but they revealed that like there's a Bizarro version of Jor-El, like El Raj or whatever.
Yes,
like,
yes. I think no, it's in this issue.
Yeah, in this issue.
Yeah. Like Le Raj or something his name is. It's like the opposite of Jor-El. Yeah, so that's kind of cool as well. So he kind of meets him as well on this planet. This was, there he is right here in this, beside him there. Yeah, and this is basically where he starts to talk like them because he gets them to make him a rocket. And basically they can't get the rocket working. So he pisses off Bizarro so much at the end that he just basically picks up the rocket and like whips it out of their world. He's like, because you know what? You hear him.
Because they have a red sun, right? He can't use his powers in this world.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. So he's super weak here. And that's why him and Zabaro are basically like scraping to get this thing going here. And Zabaro doesn't want to help him. He selfishly almost takes his place on the rocket because he's like, I'd do anything to get out of here. You don't know how it is being here. He's like, they hate me. I can't talk with these people. He's like, I like to write poetry. No one cares about it here. Like, it's just like this man's suffering because he's living in a world of idiots, right? Compared to him, which I get. Like I really like this issue. Actually, this is the issue out of the two. I really, I really felt for that character. Oh yeah. And then he meets the shitty Justice League. Flash can't run fast. The Green Lantern can't put like things together. They're like the opposite of their powers. They're basically like useless. Oh man, yeah, that part's funny too. So again, some of the Bizarro stuff works, but
wait, so Zabaro has powers in this world.
No, I don't think he does.
At all?
No, I don't think he does.
Okay,
no, because I think he's just normal. Because
what about Bizarro?
Bizarro does.
Bizarro does.
Bizarro, because Bizarro is the version of Superman. Like I don't think Zabaro does. I don't ever seen him because if he did, he would have flew away already. Like that was the whole thing about him not being able to escape. I think from this planet.
So Bizarro's the one that throws him.
Yes, Bizarro's the one that throws him at the end here. Also, I don't know if you picked up on this. There's a piece of dialogue there from Zabaro at the end here as he's about to leave, where he's trying to tell him something. And then his speech kind of gets weird at the end there. I was like, is that a sign that he was going to transform into one of these Bizarros? Like he was getting stupider or something? I don't know if you noticed that. I'll get to this last page here. There's a scene here where he pisses him off before he throws him on the rocket. And Zabaro's speech balloon, he's talking, and then all of a sudden he can't finish his sentence and he starts stuttering. And that's kind of where you leave it off with him. And I don't know if that was Morrison trying to say like he was devolving in front of his eyes. This part here, like he's basically saying his goodbyes to him here. And he right here where he's like, oh no, Superman, I've messed up again. And like, and then it looks like he can't get the words almost out of his mouth. Like, I just felt it was like, because he blows the match out instead of like igniting it. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much. Maybe he just like was so thrown off by it at the end. I don't know. I thought that was maybe like him kind of showing us that maybe this is what his future was going to be there. Like, cause he maybe he was going to turn into one of these guys from being there for too long. I don't know. But anyways, he pisses Bizarro off and then he throws the rocket into the sky.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Hello and bad riddance. As he yells to him as he's out of there.
Shouldn't he say, oh yeah.
Yeah. It's the good riddance. Good riddance is bad riddance. This is the thing; it doesn't work for everything either, right? That's why it makes it complicated.
It's so hard to like decipher.
Like I said, a little bit goes a long way when it comes to Bizarro for me. I don't love Bizarro stories, so yeah, leaves out in this him kind of like, no, get me out of here. Tomorrow, he says he'll come back for him though, right? He does mention that if he survives, but he doesn't, of course. So, All-Star Superman number 9, or does he? That's kind of where we leave off at the end here, jumping ahead. Okay.
This is one of my favorite issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I love
Interesting.
With the Kryptonians and stuff. Yeah.
So, yeah, why don't you set it up then? What happens here?
So, I kind of don't remember, actually.
He's been gone for a couple of months in Bizarro World, essentially. And when he gets back, the Kryptonians here have taken over in his place. Like, they basically came to Earth.
Where'd they come from?
They survived the destruction of Krypton somehow, and I guess they were
now getting there.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, they just happened to arrive on Earth. They don't really get into it too much, but they basically arrived on Earth during the period of time that Superman was no longer there to protect everybody, and they step in his place essentially, right? Like they basically like, yeah, we're gonna terraform this place and basically make a new Krypton, right? That's which is, you know, even in the film, yeah, exactly. This is
probably the most Man of Steel one, like the one where I could see that like Zach probably took inspiration from it. But these people are not Zod; they're like different.
That's right.
Characters.
Yeah, they're other Kryptonians which we're not familiar with, but yeah, he references the fact that he's also from Krypton, and he references the fact that like my father was Jor-El, and he's like, scientist boy, which again, a focus of Morrison's characterization of Superman. He's focusing on the fact that his father was a scientist, so therefore Superman is also very intelligent, right? And he's like, no wonder you don't know what you're doing here or whatever. He's like, you're too focused on like, he basically just like, you know,
Bar L, his name.
Yeah,
Bar L.
So, and, you know, they kind of go toe to toe a little bit, these guys, and he basically has to outsmart them essentially and make them chase him off planet, knowing the environment more than they do. They get exposed to some stuff that basically kills them, like some sort of, again, like some radioactive type of like right through a cloud or something. He makes them fly through some sort of cloud, like, yeah, like a pathogen or something. He basically goes through some cloud. He makes them chase them up into the atmosphere so far that they go through some sort of clouds that mess up their internal.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
I thought they just like randomly like started reacting because their body was like not getting used to Earth or something. Like that.
But that's the thing. Like he explains that when they chased him, he forced them to go through some sort of like stuff in the sky that messed up their insides essentially, because like you said, their bodies weren't used to the Earth's kind of atmosphere yet. And he gives them a choice at the end. Instead of letting them die, I can put you in the Phantom Zone and try to figure out a way to bring you back.
Well, first, I really like when they fight and he throws him into the moon, and then I like
and he cracks it.
Yeah,
and then he uses the bridges to basically sutures to patch it up.
But then I really liked how, like the end when he hooks them up to the machine and their thoughts are on the monitor or whatever, and they're even saying like, yo, we treated you kind of like shit. Like the fact that you're still showing us kindness. And I really like that turn and stuff. And yeah. And then he basically sends them at the end to the Phantom Zone. And I guess did they show the Phantom Zone at the end?
They
or-
show the monitor,
Yeah.
like basically where there's like
Is the Phantom Zone like a jail or something? Like,
yes,
like actually a physical jail? Like they're
it's
in,
like what do you call it? Like the in between, like purgatory, essentially. Like they just float in nothingness.
but they have their
essentially.
physical bodies there, right?
Yeah, their spirit form or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're basically like a ghost, essentially, like in the Phantom Zone. Hence the Phantom part of it, I believe. Yeah.
Because I remember he said something about like, oh, you guys are gonna have like finally there's gonna be like good people in the Phantom Zone or whatever.
Yes.
Like, they were gonna like whoop people's asses.
Well, yeah, he's like, I need somebody of law and order to basically get them in line, essentially. Beyond, yeah. So you guys will actually be helping me out in that sense. And he's like, this way, I'll try to figure a way out, so we can save your actual form, so not just like your corporeal form. They also expose him for being Superman in front of all of his people that work there. Almost like he has to slink off when he's with all of his coworkers at the Daily Planet. They show up outside the window in this one scene and confront him. They're like, how dare you like act like you're on their level and stoop to this low, trying to look like these humans, right? So like they kind of are talking shit to him in that moment. They're real big assholes, these guys. Like you said, though, Max, I like how even in this moment he showed them sympathy and was like, I understand, like, this is the way,
and they start to respect him too,
exactly,
because they realize like the goodness of his character.
See, this is the part here, though. This is he makes them. Yeah, they fall from the sky because he said earlier they had gone through some stuff in the atmosphere, I guess, during these scenes.
Yeah.
Something happened to them during this period of time. So, and this is the Phantom Zone monitor behind them here that he's got them beaming on them. But this scene's really cool too. Like I said, they're suturing the planet up with the bridges. He's like, yeah, don't worry, I'll fix that. He throws like several bridges up there. But yeah, he kind of goes all like cross-eyed and stuff like here, and he goes blind. And Superman's able to talk with them by hooking them up to this machine where he can broadcast their thoughts and talk to them that way. And basically they agree to send them to the Phantom Zone so they can still be together, these two. So yeah, so there you go. That's a good issue. I agree with you, Max. Yeah, this great last image where they show up in the Phantom Zone and people are like, oh, fuck. Yeah, these guys are like, all right, time to take care of business. All right, issue 10.
I remember this one.
Okay, so this one is, this is basically where I think he's just doing a bunch of good deeds for people, including sick kids. Yeah. And at the end of this, he basically finds.
Oh, I love this.
Oh, image. That's the end of the story. We'll get to that, but yeah, what do you like this?
I like this issue, and I like this image right here. How he's like writing his will on the wall with the laser. I guess it's transcribing that into the Kryptonian language.
This is where he starts to look really rough as well. As you can see, he's
you can
sweating a lot, and he's he's out of energy.
Finally showing like the effects of the disease, because up until this point
he's been fine,
but now it's starting to kind of take its place.
Oh, and this is where they talk about the lost bottle city of Kandor, and he brings Dr. Quintum inside of it, which is funny because I forgot something we didn't talk about in the last issue. Even the Kryptonians judged him for keeping them encased in this actual glass jar. They're like, how dare you keep these old Kryptonians like in this glass tomb that you got them encased in? And he's like, no, I can't get them to regular size. You don't understand. He's like, I'm trying to help them. And they're just like judging him, right? And this is where in this issue, I guess, given that comment, he's like, I really should try to come up with something to help these guys. And he brings Dr. Quintum into the actual jar to figure out a way how to, help this race of people that are stuck in miniaturized form. And this is because of Brainiac, essentially, is the one that put them in this jar, which is referenced in this. And that was an old classic Superman story that from there forth, from then on, moving forward, they were always stuck in that jar as a result of that story, essentially, and in this miniature version. He brings back this ancient civilization, but
are you talking about
Brainiac,
the Superman Brainiac, the Jeff Johns one? Or
it's not that story. No, it's like something from like back in the day. So again, Morrison's just kind of pulling from like classic Superman stories. Yeah.
What is considered the classic period of Superman?
Silver Age.
Silver Age? Okay, not golden. No.
Golden, there's a lot about like his beginnings in that, but I think when they start to get really goofy and actually establish a lot about the villains is Silver Age.
Yeah.
That's from what I hear. The older Superman, that's the sweet spot for people.
Okay,
is the
okay.
Silver Age stuff, yeah, and that's kind of where you're gonna get more of like a campy, goofy kind of tone, somewhat.
Where the crypto pops up and
yeah, and like there's like goofy stuff happening up with Jimmy Olsen. Lois had her own series for a period of time where funny stuff would happen to her. All these kind of things, some things that haven't aged well. Like it's just they were kind of really just throwing weird ideas at the wall essentially back then, right? So, and for some people that's their favorite like version of Superman is the older
probably
stuff,
Grant
right?
Morrison's too, because he was probably a kid when that stuff was coming.
This is where his Batman run's very similar. He pulls from that era of Batman as well in his Batman run. Obviously he modernizes and changes a lot of things as well. He brought he even pulled like Damian was from a story where him and Talia hooked up, and no one ever followed up on the fact that if they had sex and she had a child.
Oh wow,
that was, I think it's from the 70s or something.
Damian Wayne is from then.
So, well, no, but he wasn't created until Grant Morrison did his Batman run, technically. But there was a scene in an older Batman comic where they end up hooking up, him and Talia. There's never revealed that he had a child. He took that one idea of a moment that happened and was like, what if there was a child this whole time that he didn't know about? And that turned into Damian. So that's just Morrison mining older comics for like ideas to kind of.
That's pretty cool.
Exactly, to add continuity to.
I love this, by the way, when he fights the mecha, the mech, and crashes through it and shit.
Yeah, good stuff. So another good issue. I really like this one as well. This was a great scene too. There's like a goth girl that looks like she's gonna kill herself here, and again, this issue is just basically him helping out a bunch of people in need, like just like anybody, like even this one page is dedicated to a girl. I just by looking at her, the way they made her look is obviously somebody she wasn't able to meet up with her therapist on this day. It sounds like because the guy was running late and she was like, "Oh, no one cares about me." And he hears this and
the phone, right?
Yeah, and he rushes to this building and he's like,
crazy.
Yeah, he's like, it's never as bad as it seems. Your doctor was running late and he does care about you, and he like gives her a hug and he saves her from like killing herself essentially. So like again, just like a heavy moment like that within like a page that he just throws this idea out there. So a lot of really cool, interesting, heartfelt, emotional moments in this too. This story, right? And this is when they're all kind of meeting together in the.
So what's Earth Q? They say that in the.
I think it's one of the different Earths essentially that exist.
Is it like one of those bottled in a bottle thing? Or
no, I don't think so.
It's like there's like these cavemen or whatever. And
I'm trying
to understand what this was.
I guess a different Earth that exists within the DC universe. I'm not too positive either about that.
And then Superman is also like decoding his own DNA sequence.
Yes,
like scanning his hand or whatever.
And this is when he reveals to Luthor that he's dying, and he spits at him on the glass.
Oh yeah, fuck, Luthor's such an asshole.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, what ends up happening here at the end?
This one where he gives Leo Quinton the serums.
Right? Yes,
yeah, that's where it is.
Yes. He's like, I trust you. He's like, why would you do this? He's like, I trust you more than anyone. Because he basically wants him to find a cure for these people, and he wants him to be able to use the serum if need be, right? So in his absence, because at this point he's coming to the acceptance part of the fact that he's dying. Like he's like, I don't have much time left, so this is
and then the ending here is
it's kind of foreshadowing the ending of the series, essentially.
But is this like a comic book creator inventing Superman, like in universe? Is that what was happening?
Grant Morrison does like to break the fourth wall a lot in his comics.
Because I know earlier in this issue they had a guy penciling like at the desk. Do you remember what I'm talking about? And I was trying to understand. Was that supposed to be like Jerry Siegel or whatever, or one of the
it might be in reference to that, because it's definitely it's definitely what they're going for.
Like a Golden Age Superman design too, for sure.
But then if you look at the ending of this issue where it looks like he's dead, and then Quintum reveals the fact that they're creating a new Superman essentially with the serum, right? And it kind of looks like. Almost, but you're right. This is kind of more of a nod, I think, to the creation of Superman, right? And it's also taking place on a different Earth, to your point, what they're talking about.
I see.
Right? So,
so is Earth Q like our Earth?
Possibly.
Is that like our reality?
Possibly that's what they were referring to there. Yeah. And then Clark basically says to Lois, I'm giving you like this gift of my last headline, essentially. And it's him. He wrote his own basically obituary about the fact that Superman's dead, right? So he gives that to Lois. Okay, now we're in the second last issue 11 now. Yeah. So this, obviously the cover takes place right at the end of the last one, referencing that fact. This is where they try to kill Luthor.
It is hilarious.
They fail, and it's revealed finally that it was all part of his plan. Whatever they ended up doing, it was just
drinking something.
It was a way for him to
he
escape.
Created the serum himself.
Mm-hmm.
That he can, the same serum that Superman gives Lois.
Yeah.
He also managed to create.
That's right. So
and his funniest thing, he's like, "Send my regards to your sister," after he blasts this dude in the. With his heat vision and stuff. Oh my god.
Yeah, just brutal. And he escapes. And yeah, again, he's just basically trying to tie up loose ends. This is where they talk about the Bizarro Zoo. This is where he's kind of like telling, his robot people what to do in his absence, essentially. And yeah, this is when Luthor basically makes his final play, essentially, like now that he's escaped, to try to get at Superman because, he wants to deal with him before he gets taken out. And Superman,
I love this suit.
Yeah, the tyrant son that he faces here. He there's a character earlier in the series that he reveals that's a Sun Eater that he was basically keeping in captivity in the Fortress of Solitude, that he lets free in this issue because he wants to use it to take out the tyrant son that Luthor basically sends his way.
It's the
along with the robot Superman as well, right?
So the suit that he's wearing is so that the Red Sun won't affect him, basically.
Yeah,
weaken his powers.
That's right. Yeah.
I love the suit, and I love this page too. Mm-hmm. It's really well done.
So again, this is like a last final stand of sorts, kind of like fight with him against Luthor because he's the one that created this whole issue once again. And he gets pissed off because the Sun Eater gets just destroyed by this Sun Tyrant. It is no match for this Sun. And Superman just basically freaks the fuck out after that happens and ends up like punching the shit out of this thing after it ends up killing the Sun Eater like in no time. And so
this is like a conscious sun. It's like a sun, but that's like conscious, basically. It's like an animal, like kind of, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And was there like a blue sun inside it, or
I think that's just its core, essentially. Yeah, that's what I got out of it anyways, because you can even see it there, that blue part. But that's basically where he tunnels into when he goes to like destroy him at the end here, right? But yeah, that's basically what ends up happening here. And then Luthor's niece there, is it Jimmy Olsen that ends up speaking to her? Or she's like, oh yeah, we'd like to do an interview with her, or somebody from the paper, essentially. And she's like, well, I don't know, papers are kind of lame, but then again, it's kind of cool, so I'm not sure what I want to do. And yeah, he basically falls exhausted at his desk after this fight here. And you see Luthor at the end. Again, final fight against him now that he's still got power. And Superman took everything he had to basically take out that sun at the end here. So this last issue.
This is like the last one is like it's in the running for possibly my favorite one of the whole series.
I was just about to say that. The Luthor one, this, and quite possibly the other one that we talked about.
The one with the parents, or the one with the dad?
That one.
Yeah.
Those are probably my three favorite issues in this whole series.
I would probably throw in the Kryptonian one too, but I personally really love
that one's good.
Of that one.
That one's good.
Yeah.
But like you said, like all in all, just a really well-rounded story. It shows you a lot of different aspects of the character.
It gives you a little bit of everything, and it doesn't go overboard with any element. Like you get a little bit of everything. Like you even get like an issue with the crypto, the dog and stuff, and like the earlier one. And so I think it kind of is, like you said, it's playing on all sort of facets of Superman and good action too. I like there are scenes when they make Superman look cool, like as well. Like it's not just this. Yeah, it's very well rounded.
Look at the sneer. Look at the sneer on Lex Luthor's face in this panel.
Yeah. So Superman like dies essentially at the end of the last one, but then he goes into like I don't know, like a heaven dimension where he's like talking to his dad or something. What was going on in that?
Yeah, he like falls at his desk, but yeah, I guess that's what's going on here.
He gets like a
Yeah.
second life somehow. Like I guess that's like a failsafe Superman might have. Or...
Yeah, because you're right. He's floating around here with Jor-El, like he's like in the next life. But then he says that he's Kryptonians. His dad explains that they have some reserve of energy or something like that. That's what he says, right?
Okay.
It's like something to do with like, yeah, there's like he's not dead yet, but he's basically almost dead. Like, and I think his father, it's like almost like in his head, it's what pushes him to basically come back to life here for a moment, because he does, yeah, wake up here and helps them one last time at the end here, and this is where he ends up flying into the sun at the end of this.
This is where they took. He says they'll join you in the sun
Yes.
line. That was later, that like Zack Snyder repurposed.
Yeah, like it was almost like he was going to the Krypton afterlife in that moment with his dad.
But then he just gets reborn.
Yeah, something pushes him back to the surface essentially, and you know it's his final kind of hurrah essentially as Superman here in the end, and he goes out in a way where it looks like he dies here at the end of the story, but then at the end they give you just enough hope to say like whether or not he returns, there will be another Superman, essentially. Like the symbol, the point of Superman will carry on, essentially, because that's why he left the serum with Quintum, right? And he was experimenting with that, and that's why you see like the vault at the end is like going to be the new Superman, essentially. But they're holding out hope that he's actually alive and that he's out there. He just isn't with them at that moment, right? But for you know, honestly, as readers, though, you see this, and it's like, you know, this is his final stand for humanity. And that he accomplished all he tried to do in this time alive, and that he just kind of went out in a blaze of glory here at the end, right? That's kind of what I got from it. And, you know, again, this story really conveys well what Superman stands for, I think, and like what the lengths that he's going to save humanity. And Luthor here, he even kicks his powers into overdrive for him, and he sees for a split second the way that Superman sees, like everything, and how the whole world basically makes sense more to him, and he's like taken aback by this, like tears are coming to his eyes. He's like, this is what you experience on like a daily basis. Like he's taken aback by this, because he's like, yeah, I made you, yeah, I pumped up your powers for you so you could see like what I deal with all the time, right? So again, it's just like a really good moment between the two characters.
What's this white stuff that's on his face? Why?
I think it's his cell. Like I think it's just his body burning from the inside. Like he's basically dying. Yeah, I think it's his cells essentially, like are just burning up, and you know, he just basically flies, kisses Lois, says goodbye, and flies right into the sun, right?
Which is blue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that means anything.
Well, I think it's because as a result of what Luthor did, he damaged the sun.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that was like the aftermath of that whole thing, is that, you know, it messed everything up, right? So
in the next page,
and there
he's in the sun.
Yes.
And I was wondering, was this to show that Superman didn't actually die? He's just living in the sun.
That's what I got from it. Because when Lois, they kind of say, like, I think he's somewhere up there still trying to help us, because the sun, that's what they were saying. It was damaged as a result of everything that happened. So they're visualizing that he's up there actually in the sun repairing it.
So,
exactly.
You know, so this brings up like a point that I kind of wanted to, that was in the back of my mind the whole time I was reading this story. I was like, because, you know, Superman stories are always about, you know, you know, he's faced with a challenge and then he has to overcome the challenge. And I was thinking, no way that Grant Morrison actually kills him. Like, no way. Like, I was skeptical that Superman was actually going to die at the end of the story, even though it was like, this is what the
premise of the story. Yeah.
Is he actually gonna die at the end or not? And then
but he left it with you with hope at the end. Yeah, that's I think the point. Like this. So he doesn't flat out say he's alive, but he gives you the idea that this is possibly what's happened with him, and then also it ends on this next page where he Project Superman
that
at the end.
Leo's working on
exactly
like to make more Superman.
So I think this is a fitting ending, because it, like you said, it doesn't really say whether or not he survived, but it says he's probably alive, helping people out there still.
But
right?
I guess it was already revealed like throughout the issues that he succeeded in creating this like league of Superman, or like this legacy of other Supermen that are like
Yeah.
around and like helping out and stuff. But I was gonna ask you, like, when you were first like when the first time you ever read this, did you also have that like skepticism that Superman was actually gonna die at the end?
No, I bought into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you thought Superman was actually gonna die,
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, that's why I thought maybe that's why this story was so important, right? So I really enjoy the fact that although he's probably not dead, he left it open-ended in a way where it gave you a little bit of hope at the end, and it also showed you that they already have a solution if that were the case for him to replace him, like which is what he wanted. Like that's what Superman wanted, was this is why he left it with Dr. Quintum at the end there to give him that serum, was that he wanted him to come up with some, because he was even saying to the other Kryptonians, like, I wish you guys weren't like this. I was hoping that you could maybe take over for me when I'm gone. Like, right? So like there was all these moments in this where he was looking for a suitable replacement. I honestly feel like the way he was talking to him, he would even allow Luthor to have taken over for him if he actually
proved
that he yeah, exactly. But he just didn't.
So
it's because the obsession just killed him.
Because it's so funny because like one of the most famous like storylines of Superman was that death of Superman, but he didn't actually die. Like he does come back, right?
Eventually,
yeah,
he does die.
He does die, yeah. So it's like Superman can't actually die. You know what I mean? So
no.
I was thinking. By the way, did they end up making a sequel to this series?
No.
Or no. Okay. Because that 2 at the end, when it's
which I'm happy.
2, I was curious. Was that like hinting at a sequel that they ended up making, or
no? They never made a sequel. Okay. No, and I hope they don't.
Yeah,
honestly, it just I feel like. Because like you said, like the nature of comic books is that the stories continue forever and there's all these different interpretations and people that have put their stamp on the story and it just keeps going on. But these stories where you don't need to read anything else in order to enjoy them, and it's just like these 12 issues, there's one story. I much prefer that than to have like just an ongoing run of 50 something issues by a writer. I'd rather somebody kind of just tell their story for the characters that they enjoy and be like, this is Morrison's Superman story. This is Morrison's Batman story.
100%.
Like, I don't mind a long run. Like, I read monthly comics, but these ones just seem way more important, like a Kingdom Come, like an OGN, like where they're just like, this is a story that we've created just for this format to tell a singular story where this is the start and the end, right? But that's what I mean. I think those are much more accessible storylines.
Absolutely,
for people,
it's
right?
less like intimidating for people who want to get into
exactly
comic books, who don't might like feel a little.
You can hand this to somebody and be like, read this, right? Like
that's get it.
And totally you don't have. You can't be like, here, read 50 years worth of Superman.
Yeah, like in the middle of a storyline, they don't know what's going on.
Right. You know, as much as that's fun too, if you're really into a character, but I think that this is a much better approach. And you know, there's something that's I think being talked about even in terms of superhero films. There's a big push now. Kevin Feige, this is going a little bit off topic.
To reboot the whole thing?
Well, he recently talked about, people were like, how come there wasn't that big of a success? This guy always has an excuse, by the way. But
Feige?
But for some of their failures as of recently. But I agree with what he had to say, and it was this. He recently spoke about this. This just came out this week. They were like, how come, you know, Captain America, Brave New World, and Thunderbolts, they just performed badly despite, you know, some of these.
Did they perform bad? I thought they were doing good at the box office.
Thunderbolts was critically acclaimed, but didn't perform well in terms of people going to watch the films. And he was like, you know why? Because people felt like they had to do too much homework for these movies.
Yeah.
Because there's all these pre-established characters in them. So they're really going to start taking the approach to
it has turned into that. The movies have turned into
exactly
the middle of the comic books.
So there was a period in time where everybody was that first couple of phases where everyone was watching all the movies. So it was okay. And they had strung people along, but everything post Infinity War, it's like people are afraid now to get into some of these new characters, and they have to watch 5 years worth of storylines to understand where some of them are at. So they're running into this problem. The exact same thing about continuity that we're talking about, right?
So, I remember when, this is also kind of off topic, but I remember when Endgame came out, I heard so many like people just around me saying, you know, after this, I'm done. Because I think there was like a point in a lot of people's mind where it was like, it was too much of a commitment.
Yeah, what is this all for? Like to get to this point.
Yeah. And so But I think
Julie's one of those people. Julie feels that it's very daunting to watch a lot of those
the
films
Marvel films,
because she doesn't know a lot of the history of what's going on. She's someone that cares about that enough.
I
That was
understand
just like that. It feels it's very daunting, the task. She's talked about this before, right? So yeah, it's and Kevin Feige made that comment. I was like, interesting. So they are probably, with the launch of Fantastic Four, with bringing X-Men back, they're going to probably be focused more now on like not connecting everything, which was against everything that came before then, that like this point in terms of what their approach to these films.
You know what I just noticed? So, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Marvel universe, like in the comics, they didn't reboot.
DC reboots all the time. Marvel doesn't.
They reboot like every 6 years.
Marvel
or
doesn't. That's
but I don't think Marvel did that once.
Yeah,
right?
that's their criticism.
Unless like the original reboot of when they became Marvel Comics, because I think there was something.
No, they rarely. They did it in the 90s or something at one point, I feel like, but again, it was like a soft Heroes Reborn. It was like a soft reboot of sorts, where Onslaught came and killed everybody in the Marvel universe, and then they basically restarted it over again. But again, it was the only time I feel like in their history they've attempted something like that, and they haven't again since. So and they've also ended the Ultimate Universe, the 616. The one that Miles Morales
so they've
came
had
from.
like different universes as an excuse to kind of play around.
So they've done that, but not to the degree that DC has.
DC does it like
to
every
the point
5 years,
where, like I said, Morrison literally came up with this idea. There's 52 universes, and now DC is taking the approach that everything counts. Everything counts in continuity, and they try to explain it like constantly, like how everything makes sense. But the problem is every writer now has this huge task to try to explain. Like
80 years.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So it's hard, and that's what they're experiencing with the films. That's what they're experiencing with the movies now.
Yeah.
Because you watch Thunderbolts, you're like, all these characters came from somewhere. All these
Falcon and
Winter
Soldier.
Right, to get the most out of it.
I think that was the TV shows that kind of messed them up too. Because now you have to watch TV.
Because they were trying to connect everything, and it's just like, let's be honest, the TV shows aren't that good, most of them.
Although just the fact that they did that is impressive in itself, because they're the first people to do that model, right? So they're entering new territory.
But I think people now have gotten their fill of that. So I think I told you, I think post Infinity War is when they lost people.
But I think a big reason for that too is because
Endgame.
To me, I always looked at like Robert Downey Jr. as like the lead singer of this band.
When they killed him off.
So it's like it's like Rolling Stones without Mick Jagger.
Starts and ends with him.
Yeah.
So that era.
That's why they're bringing
that era.
That's why they're bringing him back, because I think they realize that. I think they're gonna bring back Chris Evans too, right?
Yes, they are. So. Yes. Anyways, more about that on our actual movie show. No, that's okay. So All-Star Superman. If you had to give it a rating out of 5 stars, what do you give it this? We do this in Comic Shop Talk, so I figured I'd give it a rating.
You know what? I have trouble, because to be fair, I only read it once. And so I think that's why I wasn't like super familiar with like every sort of storyline that was happening. But it's hard for me to give something a perfect score for anything.
Sure.
Like, because I like to have time with it and stuff. So I'll give it like a 4.5.
That's good.
I think it's a very good story.
That's good. For me, this is a 5-star just because I've revisited it many times, and this is one of my favorite Superman stories.
Does it rank as the best Superman story you've ever read? Like,
here's the thing:
is it number 1?
Since the last time I've read this, I've read a lot of other Superman comics. I don't know if it's still my favorite. I'll say that much, but I would have to re-examine that and save that conversation for another time. It is still in my top 5, though. It's definitely in my top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
So I saw
maybe even top 3. Sorry, top 3. Top 3.
I saw like an interview with James Gunn, and he said this and Superman for All Seasons. That's a great one that he has like high.
That's a great one.
Regard as well. So is that in your top 3?
All Seasons is probably my top 10.
Top 10. Okay. Interesting.
I don't think it makes my top 5, but I have a lot of other really good ones that I like.
Nice,
so
nice. Can I ask what's the?
I've sent you that list before.
In the top 3?
I've sent you the top 5.
Oh, you did
a little while ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have to find that for you. I wish I had it handy right now, unfortunately.
I forgot. But like right now, like what is your? Do you know your top 3 Superman?
Give me 1 second. Yeah. You keep talking here. Let me try to figure this out, because I think I have. If I can search for it here, for All Seasons.
Yeah. Because I know there's like.
There we go. So this is what I sent to Max a couple of months ago, prior to us talking about the new Superman movie coming out and all this. And we started talking about the possibility of actually recording this episode at this time. So this has been in preparation for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, I know we went a little bit longer than we expected, but great conversation.
Yeah,
this was fun today.
I
this is really
it.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, so my top 5 favorites, I said in no particular order, would be these: All-Star Superman, John Byrne's Superman run,
yeah.
Superman Birthright, the 2 Superman stories that were written by Alan Moore, which are For the Man Who Has Everything and Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which are short stories, like singular issues that he did like in annuals that are just excellent.
So revered. I haven't read them, but I've heard nothing but great things.
And Peter Tomasi's Superman run during the DC Rebirth era. And this is where basically he created the Jonathan Kent character, which is Superman's son. That's in the comics now currently.
I think Superman Red Sun was in that list too, right?
This is my then I put additional favorites, like probably within the rest of the top 10: Superman Red Sun, Superman for All Seasons, Superman Secret Identity, Superman American Alien, Secret Origin, and Deaths of Superman. So yeah, it's just over a top 10. It's like 11 picks there. So yeah, that's my list of my favorite Superman comics, and that's a good way to end this this conversation there. So yeah, so you liked it overall. I'm glad to hear.
I liked it, and
great.
I enjoyed having this conversation about looking at comic books like a new way, because I don't read too much of them, but it's its own art form, and it was nice to talk about.
I will tease though, then in addition to what Max just said, we are planning, me, him, and Julie, who is also on a lot of our movie shows that we do here on Late Night Chat Network, will be talking about Watchmen the comic at some point in the future, which Max has read a few times.
Yeah,
Julie has never watched it, but we recently talked about the film as well as Man of Steel. We did basically like a Zack Snyder month this past month over on Late Night at the Movies. So if you guys are interested in that, watch our Late Night at the Movies playlist for those. And yeah, we basically talked about those 2 movies, and in that conversation, Julie revealed that she's never read Watchmen. So we are going to take the time to read that at some point in the future and talk about that and reconvene here. So great conversation. Really fun to revisit this. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one, and make sure to check us out on Late Night at the Movies, where we talk about movies all the time. Max is a frequent co-host on that show all the time. He's mostly on it. So there you go. You can check him there as well. All right, guys. Thanks, Max. Later, everyone. Guys.